You're listening to Gen XP. Let's play some games.
Previously on the Shattered World of Voar, a fierce and bloody battle unfolded on the deck of the Lonely Horizon as the pirates from the Song of Iron caught the crew members unaware. Blade, magic, and a bit of luck managed to see them through, though not without some loss. A somber mood lays heavy on the ship as they mourn one of their own and make plans on what's to come next, especially with their new prize. Welcome back to the finale of Season 1 of the Shattered World of Voar. Roughly an hour has passed since the vicious battle on the deck of the Lonely Horizon. There are still a number of crows and ravens that sit in the riggings of the two ships now locked together as the injured crew lick their wounds and take care of their fallen. Avo, you've spent a little bit of time administering a little bit of healing magic that you have to both Webb and Nani. Right now, Webb and Cilantro are wrapping the body of the fallen crew member, Ranford, in linens and cleaning him up, making sure he's ready for a send-off. I don't know that either of you have ever been part of one of these ceremonies before, at least on a ship. But you know how normally people are laid to rest in Voar. Is by committing their body to the void, to the tempest. So I'm going to say that at the moment, Avo, you are tending to the injuries on Webb. And what would Theric have kept himself busy doing in the immediate aftermath? Or would you have just taken a moment to rest?
Theric is exploring the other ship.
Great. Okay.
He's fine. He's high on power right now. He's like, I rule! Because, he'd still be fighting if it wasn't for Theric. And he's like, yeah, I'm the man. And he's like, I'm going to go check out this little ship.
Sounds good. So feeling that rush of adrenaline and having been a key component in the victory, Theric, you are on this secondary ship. Now, it's smaller than the Lonely Horizon, but just to be clear, it's still about an 80-foot long ship. It's not nearly the size that the Lonely Horizon... The Lonely Horizon has got a crew capacity that could be, if pushed, 10 or 12 people. This looks like maybe 2 or 3 people would be the crew of this ship with a decent-sized hold. As you explore, you can tell that this ship is probably, you're not sure if it's faster, but it definitely is sleeker than the Lonely Horizon. There are a couple rooms that are clearly quarters with like beds and tables and dressers and whatnot. There's a general mess at the front of the ship, and then there's a cargo hold with a couple crates in the lower deck. It's only 2 levels on this ship.
Is there captain's quarters?
That's the only one that has a bed in it, yes. There's a captain's quarters with a double-door armoire against one wall that is locked.
Pull up my picks.
Okay, so your lock picks come out and you begin to work on that lock. Go ahead and give me a lockpick check.
Sleight of hand, right?
It's actually a tools check.
Okay, so just the proficiency gives me 2.
Proficiency plus your dexterity modifier.
Okay. 23.
23. You definitely, within a few minutes, you can hear the tumblers begin to click. You're a little bit surprised because this lock is of a higher quality than what you would have expected on just an average pirate ship. It feels like there's more to it than there should have been. But on that roll, you hear all the tumblers click, you get the pins moved, and then with the final last click, the doors pop and you're able to open them up. And as you do, you realize that the doors were very well created or crafted. They created a perfect seal, but as you open it, there is a glow, a soft, it's almost purplish glow inside. And as you peek inside, you see a umbrella-like compass set on the wall of the inside of this armoire. And you can tell that this is, the captain apparently has, just like you've seen on the Lonely Horizon, a umbrella-like compass to navigate the world of Voar here in this ship.
That's it?
You realize that what you are looking at is worth a fortune, but yes, that is all that was inside the armoire.
No books, no notebooks, no information.
Give me an investigation check as you're looking over the ship.
20.
There is a captain's journal that is tucked under the mattress in that room as you start to look around. It's thin and it doesn't look like it's been used in quite some time, but you do discover that the name of this ship is the Dragonfly, and that it was acquired, and the acquired I'm saying in quotes, it was acquired by the Song of Iron about 4 years ago, with the previous owner went by the name of Lonner Gallagher. The dates from when Captain Gallagher were here is what tells you when the last time the ship was not in the possession of the Song of Iron. It looks like this ship at one point was a scout ship, but beyond that, it looks like that hasn't really been updated since the Song of Iron took over. And you've been around the umbrella compass a couple times now. That is in Captain Fairfax's office, you know, or his quarters. You know that it radiates magic of every possible school of magic, and you can feel that coming from here as well. It kind of just gently hums, and there's a little bit of that purple light, soft purple pulse. Other than that, and the journal that you find, it's kind of a normal amount of personal effects that you'd expect to find in a quarters. There's an extra pair of old leather boots. There's kind of a dulled carving knife that with nothing that looks like it's been carved on. There's like an end table with a half bottle of brandy, and beyond that, nothing of interest in the captain's quarters. As you do wander around the ship, though, as I mentioned, down below in the lower deck, there is a large cargo hold that is the center of the ship. Now, on the Lonely Horizon that you've been traveling on, that's where there'd be a cannon deck, and then the mess hall, and then a cargo hold on the third level. This is just the entire second level center of the ship is a cargo hold. It's got 5 or 6 crates down there that are nailed shut. They're kind of just tied to the middle of the floor.
No writing on the outside or anything?
There is a burnt mark of what you recognize as the Song of Iron. You saw when you were going to the city that there was that shackle with the chains on it that was part of the heraldry that was on the ships. That is burnt on the side of these crates.
Theric will reach for his crowbar,
okay,
forgetting that he doesn't have a crowbar anymore because he dropped it on an elf hag in a well.
Right, you did drop it down a well.
And be like, oh, maybe they got a crowbar on the other ship, on the Lonely Horizon, and make my way back up to the Lonely Horizon.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to say that you were probably over on the Dragonfly for at least 20 minutes, just kind of looking around, keeping an eye on things or checking things out. In that time, Webb and Cilantro have finished basically preparing Ranford. They've got them all wrapped up and near the edge of the ship on a plank. You see that Captain Fairfax has kind of cleaned himself up. He's got his hat back on. He's straightened his coat. He's actually changed his shirt because he had gotten stabbed a couple times while the battle's going on. And people are beginning to gather on the deck. Anything that Avo would have done in the interim while Theric was exploring the Dragonfly?
After helping with a little bit of healing, I probably would have gone and got a drink.
Okay. So when you go down to the mess hall, you see Devereaux and Hillman kind of sitting at the same table, and they've got a bottle of rum, and they've just got basically tumblers that they're just pouring back and forth. But when you come down, Devereaux says, "You did good out there. Have a seat," and he sets a glass down for you and starts to pour you a drink. So you recovered a ship, it looks like.
Yeah. Crazy as that might be, it's
Did you know when you went over there that there was a chance that it was just going to fall out of the air if you killed that man?
It didn't.
And Hillman kind of nods, and she says, "That's true, it didn't." And I guess that's for the best. But Devereaux, he kind of like chuckles. He says, "It's a gutsy move. I've seen ships that the last crew member," and you hear him say "crew," and it almost feels like there's a capital C there, like you hear him emphasize "crew." He says, "I've seen ships where the last crew go down and the whole boat just falls out of the sky."
Huh. Maybe there's something to that.
Could be. And Hillman, she does interject. She says, "It looks like it's in solid enough shape. They did more damage to us than we did to their ship, for sure. A couple railings are broken, but beyond that, should do okay." How are they doing with Ranford upstairs?
They're preparing him.
Yeah. He's a good man. Known him for a few years, but had a rough day, it looks like. But we all have rough days from time to time.
Yes, he definitely had a rough last bit of time on the world. I just wanted a quick drink, and I'm going to head back up myself.
As you go to stand up, Devereaux does grab your sleeve. He does push the drink into your hand. He says, "You can take this, but you have to understand that, yes, Ranford did die, but you gave him a better death than what he would have had. From what I understand it, you saved him from being eaten by a jungle cat on an island that was going to fall out of the sky anyways. At least now, he died as part of our story, and we can give him a proper send-off."
Died in battle. He was a brave man.
True. And he kind of clinks his glass against yours. He says, "We'll be up in just a moment." And he goes back to him and Hillman just sitting, for the most part, what you think is in silence as they begin to drink. You climb back up onto the deck of the Lonely Horizon, as I'm going to say around then, Theric is returning from the other ship. And the two of you have a moment where everybody seems to be milling about, and you can take a moment to discuss anything that you might need to discuss. It's the first time either of you have been together and had a moment to breathe in some time.
Avo.
Hey.
Fine catch, and I hand him the dragonfly log. Your ship is named Dragonfly.
Thank you. Scoped it out?
Needed something to do. That's not all I have to say. I was busy down in the home.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. It was, your exit was kind of strange.
I was figuring out the enemy with Madam Craft. Mother Craft.
Find out anything interesting?
A little bit. They are a race that was created by the god of destruction.
His name is just Destruction. Or its name is Destruction.
Okay. Well, then they were created by destruction. And they're called the Chidian.
Created with a purpose, or?
I don't know their purpose. Well, the origin is all I really know is that destruction created them, but for what purpose, I don't know.
Honestly, watching them, it looked like their purpose was just to knock islands out of the sky.
Well, but that would make sense.
Destruction.
Who created them, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Your time spent in the temple, Avo, you would know that destruction is the god of chaos and evil, the lord of entropy, the end of all things.
Breaking things is their MO.
Yes, however, in all of your time spent in temple and reading, you've never heard of destruction creating something.
Had to suck it up.
But apparently nobody knows how they get around, because as you saw, it didn't look like any of them survived. They didn't exit the island, they blew up with it.
Well, we both came here from other planes. Maybe that.
It's definitely a possibility. Or maybe there's the divine, being carting them off. There's lots of possibilities.
Whatever they are, I just assume never see them again.
I would assume not to see them again, but I have a feeling we're going to.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Around then, during that conversation, Devereaux, First Mate Devereaux, and Quartermaster Hillman come up out of the hold carrying a couple bottles of wine and a number of glasses and mugs that they begin to hand out to everybody. Captain Fairfax stands and makes his way down to the main deck with the rest of the crew. Takes the one of the glasses as Quartermaster Hillman begins to pour wine out for everybody, and you all gather around the now still and wrapped form of Ranford as he is laying in rest on the side of the ship, basically on a plank, which is as much ceremony as what they're going to be able to muster here. His body, Ranford's body, is wrapped. It's clean, laying at rest. Every part of him, you see no part. You don't see his face or any of his clothing. He's just wrapped in linens, and everybody's kind of gathered around. Captain Fairfax steps forward with his glass, kind of meets everyone's eyes for a moment, kind of individually looks and nods to each of you before he raises his glass and he says, "We knew Ranford for a short time, and he was a brave man. We appreciated him on the crew, and he was always willing to lend a hand to any one of us. I know that it's been difficult for us the last few hours and for some time now, and we know who is responsible for this, and I do promise to each and every one of you that we will have justice for Ranford when the time comes. That the Song of Iron will not go unpunished for this, but right now, I just want to say thank you to Ranford for his service, for his companionship and his friendship on the crew, and to wish him the best in the afterlife." And he takes a drink, and you see him take basically a pair of dice out of his inner coat pocket and just sets them down on the chest of Ranford. He says, "Remember when he first came on the ship? He was not as prone to games as Mr. Webb," and he points over, but he was a quick study, and he actually carved these for me sometime after he got on the ship. I've always appreciated them, but I think he should have them going forward." And then he steps back. A couple more of the crew step up, and they have small words and small things that they say. In fact, Webb steps up. He doesn't have any words, but he does put a deck of cards on Ranford. You see that Cilantro steps up. She just kind of like pats she pats Ranford's head, kind of like holds his cheek for a moment inside the wraps, and then puts a little basket of like sandwiches and stuff on him. It's just a small basket that she's prepared. So Cilantro puts that basket on Ranford and kind of taps him on the face, and then has stepped back. Would there be anything that either of you would say at Ranford's?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. So Avo steps forward.
Avo steps forward. When Grace allowed me to pull Ranford back from death's door, I knew that the gods still had purpose for him in this life. I just didn't realize that purpose would come so quickly. Every hardship serves to challenge our abilities and harden our resolve. Grace has used Ranford's death to bless me with a teaching moment. I will not be able to save them all, but that does not mean I should stop trying. I must learn to fight smarter, and that I will do. Thank you, Ranford, for your sacrifice. You are a brave warrior, and the gods will surely reward you in the after. And your name will hold a place of honor in the ballads that will one day be written of my endeavors. Farewell, friend. Grace guide you.
There is a small kind of like you get a few pats on the back and a couple people nod at your speech. You step back. Would Theric have anything to say, or would you be mostly just keeping quiet and watching?
Theric thinks about it for a minute, and he didn't really know him. He didn't talk to him, but for a brief second, so no, he has nothing to say. Okay,
so Theric just remains quiet and solemn, I imagine. But after everybody's had a chance to kind of talk and leave maybe a small something with Ranford, Captain Fairfax then looks over to Quartermaster Hillman and nods. Quartermaster Hillman steps over, and you hear her very quietly. She didn't say anything during this exchange, but you hear her very quietly say, "Until we meet again, Ranford." And then she lifts the end of the plank. You see Ranford slide off of the lonely horizon and is gone. Vanishes into the midair and then is gone from sight as he falls. There's a moment of very somber silence as everybody stands there, and then the captain raises his wine glass. He says, "To Ranford," and then downs his drink, at which point everybody else raises their drinks, and you hear a chorus of, "To Ranford, to Ranford." They drink, and then people begin to disperse back to either their quarters, to the mess hall, to wherever they happen to want to go. Captain Fairfax looks to the two of you and he says, "Unless you two need some time, I think maybe we should have a discussion," and he points back to his quarters.
Certainly.
Never a dull moment.
He leads you two back to his quarters.
Hopefully this conversation isn't interrupted in the same manner as the last.
He does kind of nod over his shoulder at you, and he says, "Well, I think we'd have to find another island for that to happen." And you do realize as you make that quip that looking around, there is nothing within sight of you. It is just open air and endless void in every direction. In the dark night, with just stars dotting the black sky above and the belt of El illuminating everything, but there is no land in sight. He does step into his quarters, leaves the door open for you, and you can see his quarters are warmly lit with a few lanterns as well as the glow from his umbrelite compass. He sits down at his table and pours a few drinks for each of you, as well as himself. He says, I think I have the two of you to thank once again for the lives of most of the crew as well as the ship. I don't know if it was my lucky day or your lucky day when we met outside of Pendleton. You look like you took a bit of a beating there, Mr. Avo.
Yeah, you could say that.
But you availed yourself well. And Mr. Theric, your magic was a deciding factor in the fight.
Nothing. It was nothing.
It's more than what I'm able to do. And you see a moment of confusion cross his face, and he says, I had meant to have a conversation with the two of you about what happened on the island, but I only recall talking to you, Avo. Well, Avo's given me plenty of a recap on what happened on the island, but I have to tell you, with the loss of Ranford, I've spoken to First Mate Devereaux on the side and in private. I'm letting you know, I'd prefer you keep it to yourselves right now. First Mate Devereaux has decided to retire from the life. He's going to make port, and he's going to make his own way after that. Really, we need to make port for some repairs. I think the crew could use a bit of shore leave in a safe place. So the Lonely Horizon is actually bound for Nova Sona, back where we all started, or where you started. It's the safest place close to us where I can make repairs, and I think that it'll be a good port of landing for First Mate Devereaux to find a new life there. As far as the other ship goes, it looks to be in good condition, and I can explain to you how things work. You made a quip about getting a ship. I have no need for two ships. With First Mate Devereaux leaving, Quartermaster Hillman will assume his position, and there is no one else that I would turn a ship over to, so I think that there's certainly a part of me that knows I could sell it, but I think I will leave it to you. If it's something that you would like to take up, if you're not interested in returning to Nova Sona and port for a few months to make repairs and rest up. As we were talking before all of this happened, Avo, I don't think you were meant to be on my ship for very long.
I think things are working out exactly the way they're supposed to work out.
What about you, Theric?
I just shrug my shoulders. I just go where he goes.
So where will you go?
I think we should accompany you back to Nova Sona. But from there, who knows? We'll figure it out as we go along. I'm going to need to learn how to fly that thing.
Certainly. It'll take us a week or two to get back, but I can certainly show you how to do that. By the way, I was thinking more on our discussion with the item that you revealed to me, your destiny, and what you were looking for. The other piece that you were looking for, I don't have any idea where that would be, but I do know somebody that might be able to point you in the right direction.
That's more direction than I have, and I have the feeling it'll work out.
They're not on Nova Sona. You're welcome to come back with us and supply, do whatever you want to do, but the man that I would point you to go talk to, his name is Leander Black. He is an eccentric, is probably the best word to describe him. He belongs to the League of the Chalice, which, if you guys want to give me history checks, I can tell you what you know about the League of the Chalice.
10.
9.
The two of you have only heard of the League of the Chalice in passing conversation, and from what you understand, they are relic and antiquity scholars. You don't know much more about them than that. But Captain Fairfax says, Leander Black, he's a member of the League of the Chalice. If anyone would know where to find the other part of your compass, it would be him.
And you know where I would find him?
I do. He actually is... He has a... well, let's call it a castle. that is in itself its own island. I can show you how to get there, but as I said, it's not the direction that I'm heading. Entirely up to you. I can show you how to get there, and we can part ways, or you can return to us. You can return with us to Nova Sona. I plan on being on the island for at least a month or so to make repairs and to give the crew that I have time to stretch their legs and relax and possibly recruit a few more, because I'm going to be, I assume, losing the two of you. I've lost Ranford, and First Mate Devereaux is retiring. I'm going to be skeleton staffed for a bit until I can resupply and re-recruit.
Well, I would definitely like to accompany you back to Nova Sona.
Then we will discuss this along the way. I can show you how to use the ship. I can show you how to speak to the compass. And I can explain what you want to do next when it comes to finding locations. But for tonight, I don't think that we have anything else that must be discussed tonight. I plan on drinking quite a bit more of this bottle and getting a good night's sleep. And in the morning, we are going to set sail for Nova Sona.
I am definitely on board with that plan.
Perfect.
Oh, do you have a crowbar?
Yeah, there's a crowbar in the hold if you need one. There's a number of them. Crowbars, hammers, that sort of thing. Anything that you're particularly looking to pry apart?
There were some crates on that ship. I was going to go see what was in them.
Crates on your ship. Fair enough. You'll have to think about naming it.
It's Name the Dragonfly.
It's a dragonfly. It's a good name. Good name. Well, he picks his glass up and he offers a toast to each of you, clinks his glasses with you, and he says, "It's been a pleasure having you on the Lonely Horizon, and know that if once our paths do diverge, if they cross again, you'll have a friend here." And then he downs the rest of his drink
and back at you. All the help you've given us is appreciated as well. I've learned a lot.
I do have a question before we, say our goodbyes and everything. What did you get for the gem? And why did we get chased and almost killed for it?
I got and he leans over to a chest of drawers that's close enough to him to reach, and he opens one of them, pulls a sack out, and it's actually the sack that when you were on the Song of Iron that you, Avo, carried back to the ship. He sets that on the table, opens it up, and there is one very long, very spindly-looking umbrelite crystal inside of it, along with a pile of gold and silver. He takes 10 gold out for each of you and sets it in front of you. He says, "This will be your share from that particular mission." And he holds up the umbrelite crystal and he says, "So one of the lessons that I can give you about how these ships work is you can fly wildly into the void and hope to find something. It's always an option. It's never a good option because you might go a week with no food or water, and if you don't have proper stores, there have been ships in the past that have starved before they could find land. You can attune to a crystal. If you go to a place, if you are on an island and you can find any umbrelite on that island, you can spend a little bit of time attuning to that crystal, and from then on, as long as you also have a compass, you will always be able to find that island forever. If you have a piece of the crystal that came from an island and he holds that spindly one up, you can find the island where it came from." He holds that up and he says, "This was something that the Song of Iron traded for that stone that you retrieved out of the well. I knew that trading it was going to they were going to try to kill us and take it back. I knew that was going to happen. But I wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible because there are people on the Song of Iron that are less cautious when it comes to strange magic. And I do plan on visiting back some justice for Ranford, but I imagine that at this point there's been some chaos that's happened in the Song of Iron if they've experimented with that stone, based on what Mother Craft has explained to me. But yes, this crystal will lead us to another island, something that is untouched, that came to the Song of Iron, and is apparently farther out on their routes than normally they would have gone and looted and scavenged the island, but that's what I got, along with some money.
Any idea how they found us?
From what I understand, and again, I can't stress enough how many of my business decisions are influenced by a certain recluse member of my ship. From what I understand, this crystal came to them via trade. So no one on the Song of Iron has been to this island. It's just far enough away from the song at the moment that they hadn't bothered.
No idea what you'll find there?
No, but from the portents that have been read, it's a resource-rich place. That's how I prefer to make my living, is mercantile goods rather than attacking other ships. So
That's a good way to be.
I think so. But from what I understand, and he holds the crystal and he concentrates for a moment, and you see his head kind of drift over to the right, and he says, looks like it's about 3 months of sailing to get there.
That's a journey.
At the moment. The way the drift works, who knows what it'll be when I'm repaired. It's possible it'll be closer, or maybe even further away. That's the problem, is that the islands don't all stay in the right place or the same place. They move however the gods and goddesses will. But, by all means, help yourself to a crowbar, find out whatever's on your ship. He pours you another drink. If you want to take one with you, you're welcome to.
So you told me how to find out, but I asked how. The question I meant was, how did the Song of Iron find this ship? We sailed in a random direction, I thought.
That's true. I don't know how the Song of Iron found us. I mean, we are only about 3 days away, so they may have sent out multiple ships. And we might have just gotten unlucky. But I can guarantee the island that is no longer here is not something that was usually 3 days away from the song. It must have been passing through their drift, because they would have known about it. They would have been here. I would have heard about it by now, but I'm not sure how they found us. It's certainly a question to look into.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Take. That's good.
It is of high quality.
Go find a crowbar.
Okay. What would Avo do?
You've piqued my curiosity as well. Find a crowbar?
Would you like your own crowbar?
So the two of you descend down into the hold of the Lonely Horizon. You grab a couple crowbars, a couple hammers. You make your way back up to the deck, stepping across to the lashed and tied up deck of the Dragonfly, which in itself is a full-size ship. This is the first time since the battle and the physical exertion of wrestling it under control that you've been back on the deck, Avo, but this is a sleek sloop of a ship.
Captain's cabin, the crystal's unlocked. I didn't find a key, though. We might want to
search the bodies.
One guy, see if he's got a key.
Makes sense. That would make sense. Are the bodies still around? Gone.
They're gone.
Don't.
Any bodies that would have been still on the ship after the battle any goods would have been stripped up and chucked overboard. So there's probably a store of things that they had that have been set aside.
I was on deck. Did I happen to see who?
Yeah, so Quartermaster
Picked over
Hillman
bodies.
would have been stripping them and tossing them. So you know that she would have basically everything that they had would have been that of any value would have been thrown in a box, and you saw her take it down to the hold. While you're down there, we can just say that you would have seen that box. If you need to go back and look through it for a key, that's fine.
Sure thing.
Would that be what you do now, or were you going to go with Theric?
I'll catch up to him.
I can wait. If you're going to go get the key.
Okay.
Okay. Well, it doesn't take long. You make your way back down. You see First Mate Devereaux and Quartermaster Hillman see you come back through again, this time with a crowbar, and they're like, you forget something?
Looking for a key.
You hear Quartermaster Hillman say, there was a brass key in the box. Not sure what it goes to, but it's down below.
Mind if I
Go for it.
have another drink? Real quick.
You go down, pick through and it's basically a box, like a crate full of leather armor, hand axes. There's a couple cutlasses in there. There's a couple daggers. There's no money or anything like that, but there is a brass key. There's an earring, one earring that looks like a manacle with a chain that hangs off of it. There's a gold tooth that's in there, but that sort of stuff.
I'm just gonna take the key.
Okay. So you grab the key, you make your way back over to the deck of the Dragonfly and join back up with Theric. Now, where did you want to go look in the captain's quarters first, or were you heading down to below decks?
I'll look real quick in the captain's quarters to see if this key actually works.
The key does. So the two of you step into the captain's quarters. Armoire is set against the wall, and it looks like it's secured to the wall. Or it's possible that the compass is built there and then the armoire is built around it to hide it. If the armoire is opened up, you test the key, it does open and shut the lock. And it's a very highly well-made lock. And the armoire itself looks very reinforced, like it would be difficult to crack open by force.
Lock it up and head down to...
Okay. And this one, different from Captain Fairfax's. Captain Fairfax's is a table that he kind of looks down on. This one is set against the wall. But you do still see that, like, same thing, like the little motes of light and like the little galaxy within inside the crystal that kind of whirls and spins. Though it doesn't react to your presences at this point. After that, the two of you make your way down into the hold, and as I said, there's 5 or 6 crates down there stamped with the Song of Iron burnt onto the side of the box. And you start hammering away, prying with crowbars, and start popping lids off of crates. And it is about 12 to 15 days of food for 6 or 7 people. It looks like it's just bags of flour, bags of potatoes, dried meats. It's just
Water.
a huge store. There are small casks of water that are sealed.
Let's get this over to the other ship.
Yeah, just it's probably individually it's probably about 60 days worth of food, but you remember there were 7 or 8 people on this ship at one point. So it's possible, and I think that the mental math kicks in and you realize that this ship, if this was one of many that was potentially sent out to find you, they were sent with probably a week's worth of food.
Okay.
That also means that there's more ship. We should probably get out of here.
Possibly. That was a discussion that you had with the captain, that he doesn't know how you were found, but this ship was sent with about a week's worth of food.
But this kind of cements that was a good theory, and we should probably hightail it out of here as fast as we can.
It does support that. So you're gonna start carrying crates and stuff? Water, okay.
We didn't need food, we need water, didn't
You
we?
were out of some of the fresher things, like you were out of most of the meats. You were down to like dried stuff. But
start carrying crates.
okay, yeah. And then I think once you start doing that, that Webb and Lonnie will jump in and start helping as well. Nani is resting, and once you start carrying him down, the whole crew kind of kicks in and helps move things around. Though at one point, Captain Fairfax does mention, he says, did you want to keep any of that on the Dragonfly?
Will the way I figure it in Avo, I mean, like I said, I'll go with you. Let's go back to Nova Sona, and then
We can restock with
restock
whatever we
and
need
everything
there.
like that.
This needs to be shared around now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Good lads. And he kind of claps you each on the back. All right, then. Well, I think we can manage that. It's he looks around for a second. You see, like, his eyes kind of... And then he says, Nova Sona is that direction. It looks like about a week.
How long does it take to attune to a ship?
About an hour.
Short rest.
Would it be helpful to have that ship assisting this one along?
That ship, the Dragonfly will follow us. It's tied to the side, and we're much larger. It'll follow us no matter where we go. It's not going to make the Horizons journey any easier to cut it loose. But let's get underway, and then I'll show you what's going on.
We can do that tomorrow then.
So we've got time.
Yep. But he looks over to First Mate Devereaux and Quartermaster Hillman. He says, "I'll take the first watch."
We've got time, assuming none of the other ships find us.
But he climbs up on the captain's deck and begins to unhook the wheel, and you can feel the Lonely Horizon kind of creak. It's been repaired, but there's been some damage to it. So it's still got a little bit of damage from the battle when you were fleeing the Song of Iron. It has some damage from when the...
Well, that's what I was wondering, is with the damage to the Lonely Horizon, could the Dragonfly be helpful in assisting it? Like, helping it move along? Or is it too small?
Yeah, it's the Lonely Horizon is not hindered in its speed or its capability. It just creaks a little bit more right now.
Okay.
It's been patched. It will just... You can tell that Captain Fairfax, and you've seen him in the time that you've spent on the ship, he kind of dotes on the ship. Everything is well taken care of, and he wants it to be back in perfect shape. But he starts to guide the wheel. You hear the ship creak and groan. The prow begins to turn, and then you begin to pick up speed in the dark as the stars and the clouds above slowly drift past. The rest of that night...
Theric is going to go get some rest.
Okay. The rest of that night is going to go uneventfully. In fact, the next several days are going to go uneventfully, other than the next day, around midday, sometime well after lunch, Captain Fairfax will come to the two of you wherever you happen to find yourselves. It doesn't require a whole lot to just sail, so you have time to yourselves right now. Would you be spending that in your quarters, on the deck, in the mess hall? Where would you be? Or would you be over on the Dragonfly?
Probably, I would check out the Dragonfly as much as I could check it out, but without flying it, I don't really see any reason to hang out over there. I would probably chill out with the crew members more.
Okay.
I'm just kind of hanging out doing my duties. I've already explored the Dragonfly.
Okay. Sometime well after midday then, after Captain Fairfax, he was up for a good portion of the night, he's got some sleep, he comes to the two of you and says, well, we've got some time. It'll be a number of days before we get back to Nova Sona. I can show you how to attune to the crystal if you'd like.
Perfect.
He says, well, follow me, and he steps over onto the Dragonfly, and he says, now you found where this compass is already?
Yes, I believe Avo has a key.
Yeah.
So you lead him to where this is, and you open it up for him, and he kind of like nods, and he says, all right, and he says, well, I know the two of you are partners, and I don't necessarily know that you're going to operate the way a ship would, but one of you is going to attune to this. So...
Only one person at a time?
So one of you is going to attune to it, but you'll be able to share the gift of this ship with a number of others. I share the gift of the Lonely Horizon with First Mate Devereaux, Quartermaster Hillman, and Cilantro. So it requires one of you to bond with Crystal, and then you can share that ability with the other one.
All right, let's do this.
Speaking from an in-game perspective, as far as mechanics go, it's going to count as an attunement. So you have a limited number of magic items that you can attune to. This is going to count as an attunement for one of you.
It's 3, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You can attune to 3 magical items.
And I'm assuming that Gambler fills an attunement slot.
Gambler did require an attunement.
Okay. I'm good with it, yeah.
Okay. So he says, all right, he's not doing it. He says, you place your hands on the crystal, and he's going to walk you through like a basic closed eye meditation that'll take about an hour as you attune to the vibrations of this crystal. While that's happening, Theric, are you just watching?
Mm-hmm. Fascinated.
You notice, and he does ask you, Avo, to close your eyes and to picture things, and he kind of walks you through a guided meditation. Theric, you see a purple nimbus seep out of the crystal and swirl up and around Avo's arms, eventually up the side of his neck and around the back of his head, and then just slowly sinks into his body and vanishes over the course of the hour. You can feel the constant hum of the crystal. After an hour, you take a deep breath, you exhale, and in your mind, without opening your eyes, you know definitively how far away and what direction the Song of Iron is. You also know of another island. You don't know what it's called, but there's another island that is about 2 weeks away. If the Song of Iron was to your west, there is another island about 2 weeks to the north. But you don't know what that one is. But clearly this crystal does, and it is sharing that gift with you.
Cool.
But the Song of Iron, you know that's the Song of Iron only because of how the proximity to where you are right now and having just left there. You know that that's where it leads back to, that particular thing. And you realize that from what Captain Fairfax has been talking to you about, that as you attune to things, not just you are learning where things are, but the ship itself is learning where things are. So once the ship knows, anybody who uses the ship would know.
Cool.
So the ship itself learns.
After the attunement is done, and then he shares the attunement with me, Theric will look at Fairfax and go, what happens if he dies?
As long as one member of the crew survives, the attunement will pass to them.
So it doesn't... the captain is just the person who attunes to the ship and holds the slot, per se. I mean, yes, it's a rank thing. But for all intents and purposes, as long as somebody's attuned and shares the attunement until everybody dies, the ship still has somebody attuned to it.
Correct.
Okay.
One thing to bear in mind, and I doubt that it would ever happen with the two of you, the captain, the person who is the first to attune to the crystal, can revoke the share at any time, which is largely how you prevent mutinies. Otherwise, they could simply kill the captain and take off with the ship. If the captain had any advance warning and were smart about it, they would revoke the shares so that if they did get murdered, the ship would not be under control when that happened.
Right. I mean, if I'm going to die, everybody's going to die. It's as simple as that.
A minute or so to revoke that.
Right, Avo?
Sure.
It's a mutiny! Arr!
It does take a minute or so to revoke the gift, but it is something that the primary captain can do.
No, and just curious to know what the limitations were. Cause,
of course.
You know,
yeah, in the battle that we were just in, I'm sure that the last man on the ship was not the captain of the ship, but...
Which is why the ship didn't plummet or foul.
It didn't start to do anything until you killed the last man, and then that ship began to list.
Well, I know what's going to happen when I resummon my familiar now. He's going to be a parrot.
Brilliant. You gonna get an eye patch too?
Okay.
Over the next couple days, you are welcome to, if you'd like to practice, you can free the dragonfly and fly alongside just to get practice with it. You find that being attuned to the crystal gives you an innate ability to know how to pilot the ship. It's not something that you'd ever done before, other than a brief moment when you struggled with it. But this now, once you attune to the crystal and once that was shared with you, Theric, you both know, almost like reflex, how to pilot the ship. It's a strange knowledge that you don't remember learning, but it's always been there as far as you can tell.
Can I feel where the islands are too now through the umbilic crystal?
Once Avo shared that, you can tell, and again, based on proximity, you know one of them. And I think once you know that that's the Song of Iron, it doesn't matter where things turn or move, you know which one is which. You just don't know what that other one's called right now. But yes, the Song of Iron is falling away behind you.
In the old captain's log that I found, does it list with the other?
There's some symbols in there. Go ahead and give me another investigation check, and we'll see if you can piece anything together from this person's notes.
15.
You find one reference that it looks like the dragonfly made frequent stops at by the name of Kaer Morn.
You want to write that down? Here.
I do. That's an interesting name.
I just figured you can track the locations, Captain.
Over the next couple days, is there anything else that you would try to take care of? Any conversations that you would have? Or would you just enjoy the ride back to Nova Sona?
I'm down for enjoying the ride.
Okay. Avo?
After practicing with the ship a little bit, I'm content to hang out with the crew for the time we have left.
And I spend the rest of the time learning on ship maneuvers.
After about a week of sailing and practicing on it and relaxing and enjoying the company of the crew of the Lonely Horizon, you arrive back at the island nation of Nova Sona. As you first get there, down on the city, you're a little bit higher and you're starting to drift down. You can see the gleaming temple. You can see the Bramble, which is the merchant district. You can see the orchards on the outside of the city, and everything is very reminiscent of where you first started, at least where this part of your journey started. You've been gone for a little bit over a month, but so much has changed in that month. After docking, the Captain Fairfax pays a docking fee, which he does pay for the Dragonfly as well. He says that that's probably the other part of what he would have owed you. And then he starts hiring people to work on his ship. And I think over the next couple days, you guys will have the opportunity to resupply. And Captain Fairfax will spend some time with each of you. He's got a small crystal piece of umbrelite that is on it's embedded in a long tooth. So there's like a long pointed curved tooth with an umbrelite crystal jammed into the back of it decoratively. He has each of you spend some time holding that until you feel a vibration, and then you can tell a long ways away. You're thinking a few weeks at least. 3, could be 4. You feel the sensation of this castle, or this island, and he explains to you that is Gallagher Castle. That is where you will find. Hold on. He says that is Castle Black. That is where you'll find Leander.
Okay.
Can you attune and find another ship this way?
You know, it's an interesting prospect. I suppose if you had time on
Both ships?
both ships, you could... It is a piece of umbrelite crystal. You could theoretically use it to find the Lonely Horizon. And let's try it out. And I think as long as you are willing, he will allow
I
you.
like the idea of that. It would be good to think that maybe someday I'll see you again.
Well, but it'd be nice to find each other, too.
Absolutely.
In this...
So I'm going to say that over the next couple days, it takes a little fiddling because this is not how normally the umbrelite crystals navigate. But after a bit of time that the three of you spend on both ships, you both find that level of attunement. All three of you find that level of attunement where you can now detect, you can know. And it's not like a constant, like, I always know where this is. It's like you have to think about it for a second. You have to focus.
But we could find it.
Yes, it's kind of like when you try to remember an old fact that you learned as a child. It takes a second, and then you go, oh, there it is.
Well, that was easier. I was actually going to use it as a point of research for my character. But okay, I mean, that's why I asked.
Yep, you spend... I think that you spend just doing that and resupplying about a week in Nova Sona. And then I think... So, we're actually going to be wrapping up. This is... And I know we haven't said it so far in the episode, but this is the last episode of Season 1 of the Shattered World of Voar. We're going to be taking a break here because the crew, Avo and Theric, have their own ship. They've met many dangers as well as one potentially world-threatening danger. And you've been given you've attained, not been given, you've worked hard for it. You've attained the next step, or the ability to take the next step on whatever journey the two of you want to go on.
I can't remember what I was going to say now.
So as we wrap up, anything before we wrap up this session?
Well, obviously, other than tuning to the ships, too, we want to tune to Nova Sona so we can get back here.
Absolutely. There are places in Nova Sona inside the city that you could go to, but you did find one very large crystal on the island if you wanted to attune to that one that you wouldn't have to work to get to.
Yeah, the one
up in the Highlands.
A day and a half away or whatever it was, a day away.
Right.
So you could easily fly the dragonfly out there, attune to that, and you'd be able to get back to the island at any time.
Perfect.
But I wanted to make sure because I figured...
Good call.
All right. Well, then, unless there's any other business, we will be returning to the Shattered World of Voar for the next journey, the next stage of this story. I want to thank you guys for taking this so far with us and telling the story of Avo and Theric. You're 4th level right now?
Yes.
Okay. You're going to level to 5th. And then when we pick up next time, there's going to be a little bit of a time skip, and we're going to discuss that both in an after show as well as when we do finally come back to the Shattered World of Voar, we'll discuss that time skip and what you two have been up to. Good?
Sounds good.
All right. That's where we're going to stop for today, and that's where we're going to stop for Season 1 of the Shattered World of Voar. Thanks for joining us, and tune in next time.
Cool.
This has been Gen XP. Thanks for listening. Catch you next week.